Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
The playoffs are here. Welcome to the EST Hangout on this Monday, presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear, live on iHeartRadio, tune in, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, as well as those watching on YouTube. Matt Iwanyk with you here. Joining us today, Murray McCourt from the VIP Golf Show, which begins its season on Sunday, 8 o'clock right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, and Wil Fraser has popped by. You boys ready for playoffs?
Yeah, SGA showed up last night. Took game one against the Pelicans.
Okay, hold on a second.
What playoffs are we talking? Oh, your basketball playoff. What a time, though, right? I mean, NBA.
But the Thunder should not have been that close with the Pelicans.
It shouldn't have been that close.
The
Absolutely
Thunder
not,
should not be that close with the Pelicans. I threw it on in the fourth quarter. I watched like part of the first half, turned it off, went back in the fourth quarter. I'm like, this is too close.
Yeah, well, credit to the Pelicans for keeping it like under 100. Like anytime you hold SGA and the Thunder under 100, I'm impressed. But man, like. Canadians are once again missing an incredible story that's happening in the NBA with one of their own. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is he's a phenomenon. Like you watch the way that he plays basketball, and it's that same the same way that you watch a Luka Doncic or whatever, where you're like, well, that's not what I've come to expect. Like, he slows down when most guys go fast, and he finds different lanes. Like, oh my goodness. But you are right. What a time. It's always April, end of April, early May is the best time for sports fans, bar none.
Listen, if we're going to start with basketball, the 2024 NBA champions did win yesterday, and that's the Boston Celtics.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're taking down the Nuggets. I honestly don't know if they can take down.
Well, why would you bet against the Nugs?
Like the Lakers, even on Saturday, got up to a nice lead. They're feeling really good about themselves, and then lose by double digits still. Like they can't figure. And I'm not saying the Lakers are the other team to beat or watch, but like the way AD and LeBron are playing right now and stuff, and the Nuggets just go, yeah, we'll shoot for a quarter.
It felt like a hold my beer moment, hey? Like where the Nuggets were like, no, this was cute. No, good for you guys. I'm glad you had this moment, and then just like
give it to them. Hey?
It was like a demoralizing moment. Like they wanted to, we're gonna go into this game to demoralize the Lakers.
Yeah,
we'll dangle the carrot in front of them, and then we're just gonna punch them in the face.
Wow. Good teams can do that. There's no question.
They are, but the Celtics should be the team out of the East, I would say.
Oh, easily,
even in the golf world, there is a major story that is on the verge of becoming.
We will talk a lot of other stories.
We will.
Which one? How about a 15-year-old? Is that the one you're talking about?
No, on the LPGA.
McCourt five straight.
Five straight for Nelly Corda.
Wild. Yeah. Like she's on the verge of history here with her next tournament.
But then you got Scheffler just winning another event
by a landslide,
and
a 15-year-old kid. I didn't even go and check and see how he finished, but one time yesterday, a 15-year-old kid was in the top 5 on the Corn Ferry Tour.
Oh, yeah.
15 years old.
Yeah.
Like, are you out of your mind? Like, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a good time for sport. Mm-hmm. As long as there's no more betting scandals, it's a good time for sport.
Banned for life.
Yeah, well.
What are you doing? Like you're throwing away your life.
Yeah.
To go put a couple of bucks on a game.
Well, the G League takes it out of you after a little while, and I think he saw his chance to finally make some money. So,
fair.
But yeah, Matt. Speaking of that, like when you go back to the video where like he had taken the prop bet of what was it, under 4.5 rebounds on the game, and like had a chance to get a rebound and literally like swatted it away towards a teammate, and then immediately exits the game and claims that he has an eye injury. Good on the league for being as quick and decisive as they were with it.
But there wasn't a choice there, was there?
No, but the Shohei Ohtani thing is good. This has the chance to be really bad for baseball.
The Porter one I like is that this story's going to happen more.
Yep,
but we're catching it. That's the good part. That it's all being somewhat regulated now and watched. That we're finding this stuff's happened in the past.
Well, but
we couldn't have figured it out because no one has the
this is the moment
watch on the black
gambling's
black
done
market.
A different way now.
Yeah, like now that it's much more open, they could find the irregularities and go, that's not right.
But
let's look into it, and there'll be more of these stories. But I think that could be looked as a good thing as opposed to a bad thing, where it's at least we're trying to catch them and then kicking them out, as opposed to it's been happening, we just never knew.
I agree. No one cares that a Porter Jr. is not going to play in the NBA ever again. The Shohei Ohtani thing is.
I don't know what to make of that one.
This is the scariest thing a league has ever had to deal with. It's not just your best player; it's the player that was possibly going to go down as the greatest ever. And what do you do then? What do you do then?
Well, basketball has that around their greatest.
Yeah, exactly.
Around MJ, there still is the talk of what happened for those 2 years in minor league
Why did he have to go
Why
away?
did he go play baseball? Did he really play baseball, or was he getting suspended? And this was a way to not suspend him.
Yeah.
That story is still always going to be there, but they're fine.
Yeah, well, they are, but they still have problems between refs that have literally done time and players that don't get to play anymore. So, it's
But this Ohtani thing's almost gone away. It almost seems like, though.
I feel like publicly it's done. He's
you're
pled
not
guilty.
agreeing, obviously.
I don't think there's anything else for this story to come out. Maybe there's stuff behind it that we'll never know.
Right.
That's the thing. But I think we're done with the news.
This feels very much like baseball.
Covered it up.
Well,
but it's not baseball
it's
because
trying
it's
to figure
feds.
out if they should.
But the feds is involved.
Yes, exactly.
This is a federal investigation.
And they move slower.
They move slower, but I also don't think that, I don't think they would. If Ohtani's part of this, Ohtani's part of it, and they're going to find out.
Yeah.
But also, I feel very naive when I talk about this, that I think it's all good. I'm 33. I've seen enough crap happen. I've believed enough athletes in my time and realized, no, they are actually liars for me to go, as I actually believe Ohtani right now. I feel like I also feel very naive as I'm saying that out loud.
It just makes me wonder just how much damage playing on a bad team does to great players. Like a Shohei Ohtani playing on the Angels, couldn't get his winning fix on the field of play. And so how much does it... I'm reminded, when I first started in this business, I covered the Trappers, and they were still affiliated with the Twins. They had a pitcher by the name of Doug Bockler, who had his cup of coffee through the majors and now made $150,000 a year playing triple. He was basically the Crash. What was his name from Bull Durham? Anyways, he was Crash as far as he was the insulation so that the young arms didn't get burnt out. All of that. So he went anywhere from closer to long relief to starter, whatever they needed, and he could tell the guys what to expect when they made the show. One of his best friends was Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown had signed that $20 million contract with the New York Yankees. And over the All-Star break, Brown, I think it's when he broke his hand. He wasn't going to the All-Star game. So they met up at a casino at Lake Tahoe. And Bockler told me this story of them on the casino floor. And Doug's like, I'm still paying off my fishing boat. This is my life. I've just finished the mortgage payments on a bungalow in Florida. That's it. I've got a wife, I've got kids. And so I'm at the $50 blackjack table. And that's, to me, losing $50 a hand is killing me. Yeah. And he goes, and Kevin Brown comes in and he goes, "What are you doing?" And Doug's like, "I'm playing blackjack." And he goes, "Well, they don't hurt at $50. You can't hurt him at $50. And he proceeded to watch Kevin Brown play $10,000 a hand. Not because he wanted to win $10,000, but he wanted to make sure that the casino hurt if he did.
Oh my god.
Right? And so that's the
different mentality.
That's the wiring of these elite guys. They're not there for the money. They're there to crush souls, right? That's a Shohei Ohtani's not out there to win $4 million gambling. He's out there to know that he did damage, right? And when you can't do that on the field of play, you'll go in search of it any way that you can.
Well, I'm going to take you back a step because you made such a crazy interesting point. Yeah. Losing in Los Angeles, the Angels for years had Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, two of the top 5 players
of their generation.
Of not even just of their generation. Yeah. And they didn't even come close to making the playoffs, let alone winning a World Series. And I mean, do you think sports are a team game?
Yeah, man.
You can have two absolutely colossal superstars on your team and not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, you know, I hear that all the time in football as an example. Oh, well, this quarterback or this player, I mean, they never won a Super Bowl. Man, doesn't mean they could have been the best quarterback of their generation or whatever. But if you don't have a team around you, you can't win.
Yeah.
Quarterback is a little different. The quarterback can elevate a team. There's not a lot of great quarterbacks who never won.
Well,
There's not a lot. Dan Marino's the
that's
top.
right.
Some,
Yeah.
for sure.
NBA, if you're a superstar, you have to have a title. That the superstar
You're
elevates those teams. You'd have to
A
win.
little
Baseball and
different
hockey,
again.
very different.
5 guys on the floor
Baseball
in
and hockey, a
basketball.
lot. Those two are similar to me, where the star, there's no guarantee that you're going to win the title. It's hard to think of a lot of superstars that haven't won. They're out there, and that's where you think that McDavid is going to get his ring eventually here at some point.
Right.
But yeah, baseball and hockey, those two sports for the most, those are team sports where it's not something that you could just go out there and have the best player know you're going to win.
Yeah,
No, you need to be have more depth across the line.
Well, and you mentioned the Trout and the Ohtani, and as fans, we're brought up to worship those guys who are loyal to their teams. But man, does it ever make me personally reinterpret Patrick Roy in Montreal? Like when he went to Tremblay and was like, "That's it, I'm done.
Right on the bench.
Get me out of here."
Yeah.
He was a villain. We thought he was the worst person in the world.
We still do.
Well-
Like we still do. If the players that want to leave a team,
Yeah,
we still do.
I look at that and I go, absolutely. If you're playing on a franchise that doesn't take you and your career and what you're capable of doing seriously, isn't willing to do what it takes, you got to get out. And like a Mike Trout should have been going to that Angels franchise, going, guys, like,
What's going on here?
I have a chance to be considered one of the greatest, and you're killing it. Like,
And they went out and got Ohtani.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking,
Yeah.
okay, here they go. Here come
Yeah.
the Angels, and 2 players still isn't enough.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I don't know. That's just wild to me that they had those 2 guys and never got a sniff.
And they never banged on garbage cans and had binoculars.
Well,
in
maybe that's what they should have done. I mean, Houston was in their division, so maybe Houston, maybe they should have got on the cheating train, and then they could have won a World Series or 2.
EST keyword, a flyaway keyword coming up just after 10 o'clock. It's the final week of this contest. We're going to give it away on Friday. So the keyword just coming up just after 10 o'clock right here on the EST Hangout. Let's get to Hangout headlines, which is brought to you by the Ranch Golf and Country Club, offering premier conditions, top-notch service, unmatched value. It is the choice for your golf rounds this season. Book tee times right now by visiting theranchgolf.com. Oilers, Kings gets going tonight, part 3. What's so funny, Will?
Wouldn't this be so much more entertaining if the Kings had won one of the first 2?
The
Already?
rubber match?
Right, like
The
it
actual
would- it
rubber
would
match, the
feel-
trilogy. We'd call it the trilogy
It
at that
would
point.
feel like a series that we wanted to watch, and we want to watch it because it's the Oilers and we love them and we'll be. But this isn't what we want to watch.
Yeah, I know. Oiler fans would be excited because this should be easier than any other matchup, so they should be able to get to the second round. From an entertainment
It's
outside
boring.
perspective,
Boring.
this one's boring.
Well, this is just it. Like, it's not just that it's Oilers and Kings, but it's Oilers and Kings a night after we watched Jets and Avs go 7-6.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Well, and
yeah.
and then Dallas is playing Vegas. I mean, what a series! I mean, it should have been Edmonton against Vegas. Now, I think we'd all be a little more excited for an Edmonton Vegas matchup and the
there'd be a
revenge
lot more nerves,
series
too.
and all that kind of stuff. Well, yeah, exactly. But I'm not nervous at all about this series for Edmonton. Not even a little bit.
There is nothing to be won in this series. There's only disappointment. Right?
Fair.
Like,
That's a great point.
Or nothing.
Yeah.
If they win, there's no disappointment.
Right. Yeah. If they
But
win,
there's
we're
no,
like,
there's
of
no
course
real
they did.
elation.
Yeah. Like if they win, we're like, of course they did.
Yeah.
I hope no one's hurt. Like that's the only thing that you come out of this
But
series
if they
hoping
lose,
for. But if they lose,
my.
you're
I
good,
get, what
right?
a great
Like-
point. Yeah, that's a great point.
Because if you lose to the Golden Knights, if that's what it was, you could argue that you lost to a really good hockey team. Tough series, right? Tight.
And
This one,
whining-
there's no excuses. It's
Yeah.
0.
and whine and complain about, oh my gosh, Mark Stone came back and this happened. I mean, that would be a big story, as it would be if they beat Dallas. Because I mean, just being upfront, I actually think Dallas is the team that probably should represent the West in the Stanley Cup. But Vegas can beat them.
Yeah, the way that they play says that Dallas is the most mature, most professional team out
they
there.
Should make it to the
Have
Stanley
the
Cup.
fewest question marks in their lineup. I mean,
But I was with you until the Golden Knights went to that side of the division.
yeah,
Because now it's like,
I
well,
know.
now you have 3 tough matchups
Yeah, exactly.
to get to a Stanley Cup final.
The Oilers' march to the conference final looks like a walk in the park compared to Dallas's. So when
Or
if it's
anyone on
Dallas
that
versus
side.
Edmonton, which I think it's going to be, yeah, exactly. Whoever Edmonton's going to play is
Yeah.
probably going to be pretty beat up from some.
well, it's kind of like
some
what
wars.
the Pacific was last year, right? Like you looked at the Pacific last year, and it was Vegas and Edmonton and a very good LA Kings squad, and it made it look like, man, just to get through those first 2 rounds is going to be pretty heroic. And I think you're right. I think it's now the Central is Central. What is
Yeah.
it? The Central Division that kind of has that sort of allure of, it's like, man, whoever can get through those first 2 rounds is going to be a pretty dynamic hockey team.
4 really solid hockey clubs
Yeah.
on the end of
That's
that
4
bracket.
Stanley Cup contenders.
Yeah,
You can make
absolutely.
the argument for
Yeah.
all 4 of them to be Stanley Cup champs this year.
Yeah.
And on
You
the
got
other
only 2
bracket,
of those.
I'm not a big believer in Vancouver, so I'm going to say the only Stanley Cup contender on the other bracket is Edmonton.
Yeah.
And I'll throw the Canucks in there just because of what they've done all season.
Sure.
I'm not going to throw
Then they have
that
a-
fully away,
Yeah.
and they have a goalie.
They
that
have a
can go
healthy
win.
Thatcher Demko,
Yeah.
who, in my opinion, is a top 3 goaltender in the NHL right now.
Top 3.
Yeah. I always have Hellebuck at number 1, and then you can kind of argue about how
Yeah.
it settles down after that. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's
and I mean, Vancouver did sweep Edmonton during the year,
Yeah.
but the timing of those games and whatnot, I'm going to throw those out the garbage.
Well,
They're
they're 1-0 in
anything.
the Chris Knoblauch era.
Right, but
the
even
Canucks.
then, it was kind of winding down for Connor didn't play.
Yeah.
I mean, if Connor doesn't play in a game, it doesn't really count. You're not playing the Edmonton games. It's like I used to say with majors for one. Tiger Woods didn't play. It didn't really count as a major because Tiger wasn't there. So I don't know. No?
I don't agree with that.
All right, fine.
Trophy still needs to be awarded.
Yeah, well, it does.
well, the Oilers also have. I mean, they're not the same team, but because of their 2 best players being the way that there is a sense that, much like Pittsburgh did in one of their cup runs, that a Draisaitl does have the ability to elevate his game to otherworldly, that he could carry the team if needed. Now, I don't want to see that.
No.
I wouldn't bet on it, but it also wouldn't surprise me if that were to happen. That a Leon Draisaitl has enough in his game to carry a team on his back.
Had
for
an
a
awfully
series.
good playoff last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And whatnot. So, yeah, it's I think that, Connor and Leon are going to take this team on their back
And they
a
should.
long way. Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
It was always my point at the beginning of the year when they were playing terrible. I was like, don't overthink it. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl aren't playing well. And you can blame a million things, but until your 2 best players are your 2 best players, you're not going to win as many hockey games as you'd like.
And the injury early on for Connor.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of factors that went into that. We were all terrified. We talked about it here on this show, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you did when you were on the show early on. I mean, that was nothing anybody
Yeah.
expected,
No.
but the bounce back from it was probably better than anyone expected. And ultimately, at the beginning of the season, the Oilers are right now where we all thought they were going to be, a Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all come full circle, and it starts tonight. It's good.
This is what we're all year. This is what we're judging the Oilers on. It's
Yeah.
playoffs. It doesn't matter what happened in those regular seasons, and I don't care that they've lost 4 or 5 going to the playoffs. 2 or 3 of those games were meaningless hockey games at that point. And
They were don't get hurt hockey games.
yeah, and it's just like, hey, let's now see what this team can do. But the only cause of concern I have for the Oilers against the Kings is just that the Oilers never make things easy,
Right.
Like they've won 2 first games since 05-06.
Yeah.
They won it against the Ducks and then against the Sharks, was it? I think in 17-16 or 16-17. Or did they do it against the Ducks both times? but for often they lose game one, and this season
always
this season should have been very easy, but it like as you pointed out, there was a coaching change, and then the 16-game win streak. They never like to find the easy way of doing it. That's the only cause for concern I would have with the Oilers heading into this one series against the Kings. But if I think I said this one on the Oilers stream last week. If the Oilers win game one tonight, this series is done in 4-5, easy. It's over. I don't think the Kings will mentally be able to be like, yeah, no, this is going to be our year after they lose game one. They're a lesser hockey team than they were the last couple of years.
Different coach.
Different coach. 2 new coaches when it comes to playoff experience. So that's going to be interesting to watch.
True, yeah.
You've got Cam Talbot and Rittich and net. Like, I think if the Oilers go out and just take game one, I don't care even if it's close. It's done. The Oilers are going to roll this series.
How long is your leash for Evander Kane? Now that we know...
Sports hernia?
It's a sports hernia.
Might not play.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, the interesting thing for the Oilers, for me this year, is now that the season is over and they can bring up the depth that they've acquired over the last little while, they've got some pieces. Like, that if an Evander Kane isn't playing like playoff Evander Kane, do you play around with that bottom six a little bit? Do you move guys in and out?
Man, I think if the Oilers are gonna go a long way though, and gonna win the Stanley Cup, they need Evander Kane to be Evander Kane in this playoffs.
I guess that's what I mean by like how far long of a leash. Like, do you give him a game or two, and if he doesn't get it, then you move things out, or do you kind of keep a fire underneath him by doing it quick and then bringing him back into a lineup to see if that sparks him?
Well, what do you think of maybe because you have some other pieces? The thinking is that this series shouldn't be that tough. How about you rest him and don't play him this series? Try to get him healthy and ready to go for series number 2. What do you think of that idea?
I think there's some wisdom to that, but it's also looking ahead of your opponent too, which can be contagious in a locker room, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting. We'll see what happens tonight because
is he playing tonight?
We don't know.
Okay.
Like, I don't think he was practicing yet. Like, he didn't practice Saturday. He practiced with the team yesterday. So did Janmark. He then talked about his sports hernia. Says he'd like to be good to go, but wasn't sure. So there is a question mark of whether Evander Kane's going to play or not. Maybe that's also a little bit gamesmanship. Because the fact that he practiced yesterday, maybe there's a little bit of gamesmanship happening for the LA Kings. Like, oh, you might not have to go up against Evander Kane, but then there's Evander Kane. Oilers had an optional skate today. So they'll speak to the media just after 10:30 or so. Tommy's down at the rink for that. So if we hear anything, we'll definitely pass that along. But, like, if he doesn't go, then it gives you the ability to, I think, maybe take a little bit of time with it, especially if you get off with a big win tonight. But also, you split the first 2. Kane's got to get back in the lineup.
Well, I'm not a doctor here. What a sports hernia? I mean, what's it is 10 days off gonna? No, it's not. It's a more significant injury.
It's a long-term injury, but it's an injury that you can play with.
Yeah, you can manage.
Like, you're in pain with it, but you are not debilitated by it. So, but I mean, if it flares up, it can be the pain can be debilitating.
Right.
But
it's 6 to 12 weeks after surgery. Athletes could return to sport, according to
and he's had no surgery.
No, he's been playing all year with it.
Okay, so then Cash in the nasty chat. Let's get the elephant out of the room right away and discuss the absolute failure in handling his sports hernia injury. Should have LTI'd him, let him recover, and use that $5 million at the deadline. That is now becoming the big story out of through yesterday when it comes to Oiler fans, is that the Oilers, they go and they give up picks, they get salary retention, all that to bring in some guys when they could have just LTIR'd Evander Kane and got guys without salary retention and all that.
I guess so, but who are we talking about? Who should they have gone and got with that?
Well, they could have maybe done it without giving up the first round pick because they needed salary retention. There could have been maybe better asset management.
There would have been a lot more options on the table.
Or maybe they could have got Toffoli. Went in and got him or something.
Evander Kane did score over 20 goals this year with a sports hernia.
Didn't he play 77 of the 82 games? So it's not like he wasn't playing.
Yeah, so there's different grades of a sports hernia. So this is clearly not a severe sports hernia.
Well, but it's enough to mess with his play to a degree, right?
Yeah.
And then that's where, like, I do see where some other fans will sit there and just go, this was your chance to have maybe done something with him.
It's a fair point.
But the flip side to that is to recover, you need surgery.
Yeah.
Maybe Evander Kane said, I'm not getting surgery
Yeah,
during the season.
exactly.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and that's the other key to that is I somewhere in there, and I don't know the ins and outs of how this works, but like, let's talk the Vegas situation and Mark Stone. How scrutinized are these injuries by the league and things like that? And where does that conversation happen with Mark Stone? Because that conversation had to have happened where somebody's sitting there saying to him, okay, you're more hurt than you're saying. You're not going to play the rest of the year until playoffs. And some players would say, screw you, I want to play.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's a touchy situation. So when it comes back to Evander Kane, your point is extremely valid, because if that was going to work, then yes, Evander Kane probably needed to go get the surgery, and so maybe they did have that conversation, and Evander Kane said, "No, I'm not going to play that game. I want to keep playing." Maybe. I mean, we don't really know.
Yeah, and the big difference between this one and the Mark Stone would be is that, like, the recovery is surgery. So, like, you actually have to go under the knife type thing for that. So if the player says, I don't want surgery, that's something you just can't force on a player.
And it's also a recovery where you have to be pretty immobile as well. Like, there's no going for runs. There's no going to the weight room. Like, there are some guys who get surgery and they can still do upper body, or they can still do lower body, or whatever, and stay somewhat athletically mobile. But
Game shape almost, in a way.
But a surgery like that, I mean, it really takes a lot out of a top-end athlete. And I wonder with was it a thumb injury that Kane suffered a year ago or whatever? Where he had
skate.
A skate, yeah, that's right. The laceration. He might be one of those guys that goes, time off is not good for me.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, and that's a great point too. Like, if he had the surgery, would he have been ready to come in and play playoff hockey like Evander Kane needs to be in playoffs in game one? I mean, maybe not. I mean, there's a lot of factors there. I get the point. That's a very valid point. But there's so many factors involved in that we just don't know to know how it played out.
I looked at that lineup yesterday, and as a head coach, like, if you're Knobloch, you must grin every day heading into the playoffs, looking at the amount of centers you have throughout that lineup and thinking about the different ways that you can run your lines. Because I was thinking if you take an Evander Kane out of your lineup, all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, now who's going to be running downhill? But all of a sudden you look at a Sam Carrick who's centering your fourth line, and you go, well, that guy can play wing anywhere in this lineup if we need somebody to be running downhill on LA Kings defensemen. And it's such a different squad than it was even 2 years ago. Like, as far as how you can put together your lines, this is a Swiss Army knife of a team. Like, there's so many. Like, they had Adam Henrique up on the top line in practice yesterday, and it's just kind of like, yeah, they have Adam Henrique, who they can move anywhere in this lineup. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have wingers playing their off wings as comfortably as they do play their on. Like, this is an interesting lineup for a head coach to try and solve problems as they arrive in a playoffs. That will be the one thing that will be actually fun to watch, is how do they solve the problems that the LA Kings put in front of them, because the LA Kings are just such a different squad than anyone else in the playoffs right now with that 1-3-1 system. Like, that it really forces you to play a different style of hockey.
Do you think they're going to stick with a 1-3-1 throughout the playoffs, though? I mean, if Oilers take it to them hardcore in game one, I mean, man, do you think they might just flip and 2-1 to it?
I think they know that they have to, because they don't have the foot speed to keep up. They don't have the foot speed or the youth to do anything else against an Oilers squad, right? Like, I love the guys that they have sending their first two lines, but those are two old men. Like, you don't want either of those guys doing foot chases with a Connor McDavid and a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or whoever else that they have to be facing.
I mean, that system might be the only
answer that they have. Yeah. Whereas in years past, that depth that they traded for Pierre-Luc Dubois,
fourth liner Pierre-Luc Dubois,
that depth that they traded, those guys could win some foot races.
Absolutely, and
like they posed some real problems for that Oilers team that they could switch things up. I don't know if they can switch things up anymore.
And that trade made the Winnipeg Jets a Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah.
and made LA Kings a pretender for sure. I don't know. Like, there's just nothing there.
Well, it's amazing what one or two personalities can do to a dressing room, both good and bad.
Exactly.
But I would think Pierre-Luc Dubois is the X factor for the LA Kings, because if he could get back to being
course he
Pierre-Luc
is.
Dubois, that changes the entire. That does change a lot of.
But
the-
he's
when is
already
he-
the X factor in the other way,
yeah.
right? Like the word is ineverating, like when you pull energy from a place. And he does that to that direction. You can just see it. Like, you can just see how frustrated his teammates are to play with him.
When was the last time he was Pierre-Luc Dubois? He is who he is. Like,
Well-
he has all this talent, but I mean, he's now on his third team in 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. And LA they would take that 8-year contract back in a heartbeat and get rid of him right now.
As much as there are some legendary drafts for the amount of talent that is put out there, we've had some pretty legendary drafts for terrible talent over the last little while.
Yeah.
Like that Pierre-Luc Dubois draft, the Nail Yakupov draft. Like, you go through it and you're like, it's pretty hard to find a real NHLer in this first round.
Like last year, had 63 points in 73 games, and in the playoffs, he had 4 points in 5 games for the Jets. So like, it's not like he gets close to that again. Like, if he could be a point-a-game player in the playoffs.
He's playing on their fourth line. I mean, their fourth line, did I hear this correctly, that Byfield and Dubois are on their fourth line? Oof, that's an interesting fourth line.
Yeah. Well, especially, why is Byfield that far down?
Because he was 55 points or something like that this year.
I guess he's cooled off in the last 20 games. Is
Has
that
he?
correct? Is that? I mean, I haven't been following him.
That's a big skilled body.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, maybe
That's a nice
maybe
fourth
that's
line
the
for them.
battle they're trying to win.
Yeah.
They're going to win the battle with the fourth line battle because they're going to score. That's where they're going to get their goals.
They will see a lot of Connor McDavid, so maybe that's their other thinking too, is that they can't have a weak fourth line without last change, right? That they don't want to get caught.
Well, is that really their fourth line? Like, I don't know their lineup inside out and backwards by any stretch of the means, but it seems odd to me that would be their fourth line.
Yeah,
But
well, we'll find out at the end of the game on the game sheet.
Yeah,
You can
how many
figure it
minutes
out by
did they
ice
play?
time, right?
Yeah.
Like,
This text comes into the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999 Rams fan. I think we're talking up the Oilers far too much. Yeah, they're a great team, but I would not be surprised if the Kings take it to 7 games.
Wow.
Guys like Kopitar Doughty can will them to a series win. If Talbot gets hot, look out.
Talbot will get hot.
For a game, though.
Exactly, but Talbot doesn't get hot for 3 games in a row.
Yeah, Talbot's not stealing a series for
Right.
the LA Kings. Talbot's not going out there and winning 3 games, and then the rest of the team gets that other game and the Oilers get knocked out or something.
Yeah.
I at least I struggle seeing that.
yeah,
I struggle seeing Cam Talbot with his age and just his career is, closer to the end than the start type thing. I just struggle to think that all of a sudden he's going to be the guy for this team.
Yeah, it will stun me if this goes 7 games. Absolutely floor me if the Oilers are in Game 7. Oh my!
Yeah, that's panic mode.
Yeah,
Well, in Game 7, anything can happen, especially against an LA
Absolutely.
Kings team if they could keep it nice and tight defensively.
Yeah.
That's one goal could win you that hockey game for the LA Kings.
Yeah, if it goes 7 games, something else has happened. Right. There's an injury.
There was something that's
something
played
else has
up.
gone
I don't
wrong.
think, as the both teams are right now, that the LA Kings should be able to match up with the Oilers and push them to 7.
Well, that
They've got,
last game,
it's
Oilers.
the goaltending part for me.
that's where I was going to go too. If it's 7 games, then Stewie's not playing very well this series.
Yeah, that last game between the Oilers and the Kings, like that Oilers squad it looked like they just had an answer to everything that the Kings wanted to do. Like, Kings wanted to get the Oilers frustrated. They never got frustrated in that game. They want, you know what I mean? They wanted to get physical. The Oilers are a bigger team than the Kings are now. Like, this is just, it really did feel like that sort of eureka moment happened in that last game against the Kings, where it really looked like the Oilers were like, ugh, we're bored. We're bored and we're bored because we know exactly what we need to do.
Well, playing against a 1-3-1 though,
Yeah.
that's boring to play against too. Because I mean, man,
but that's part of the key. That's part of the victory
Kings,
to that system is that you get the other team frustrated.
Yeah.
You make them try and force something that isn't there. And you wait around and try and get a turnover and get lucky. And so when the Oilers go, okay, well, so we'll just be just as boring as you.
Yeah.
And we've got the high-end talent so that when we get our opportunities, we will bury them more than you bury yours, right? Like that's how you play it. But you could see it kind of, especially Leon Draisaitl was almost hilarious in just his body language at every whistle. You could just see him being like, "Come on, like, can we just play straight time?" Like,
they just wanted to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. There's always someone looking to ride the next wave. They're here for the ones who make their own White Claw. Difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, McCourt, Wil Fraser with you here. Do you guys buy into anything? It's hard to beat a team 3 straight playoff series.
If it's the same team.
So, like, overall, like, same players across the board?
Like if
not just same logos?
No, I don't think the logo is the issue. I think the issue is that, like, when you get that intimate with another team, you start to know each other. And so it's tough to pull the wool over another team's eyes that many times. But it's not the same teams.
Yeah, too much has changed on both sides for that to be relevant. It's not the same as like we were talking, a couple months back about U of A Golden Bears playing UBC 3 times in a season and beating the same team in a football game 3 times in a season. Unless one team is dramatically more talented than the other, that's tough. But 3 different years, 3 different teams, I don't buy into that at all. Don't see that as a factor.
Last year, this was a team that was developing a pairing in Matthias Ekholm and Bouchard, that you could see the potential of it, but it hadn't gelled yet. This is now one of the top pairings in the entire NHL. And it used to be you went against the Kings and went, this is how it stacks up. The Kings with a Drew Doughty have the advantage on the blue line with their top pair. That's not the case anymore. And I love Drew Doughty, but I don't care who you put with him. It's not going to be better than what Matthias Ekholm and Bouchard are providing consistently, night in, night out. Like, Matthias Ekholm's game looks
he's locked and loaded right now.
Perfectly in tune for the playoffs. It's scary how good he looks. Like, of all the Oilers down that last 10, 15 games of the season, no one looked like they were taking their game into that next level more than Matthias Ekholm did.
As you know, too, I've been critical of the Oilers' bottom 6 all year, but at the trade deadline, getting Henrique and Carrick, I mean, that helped that bottom 6 depth and gives them some sandpaper and, gives them the depth, the extra versatility you're talking about. Lines, Cory Perry coming as well. Oh, man. Exactly. Cory Perry, what another phenomenal addition.
Maybe we're not talking enough about Cory Perry.
Oh. That guy is,
like, if you're looking for entertainment in a series that we're kind of bored talking about, the Cory Perry factor might be worth tuning in for, just to see how much he drives somebody else crazy.
If Evander Kane isn't back being Evander Kane, Cory Perry can certainly step up and do that. But boy, I would love to see those two both being like that on the ice together in the same series. My God.
On the regular?
Oh, man. Could you imagine what that would look like?
You would feel bad for the guys on the other side of the ice, because that's just like...
It wouldn't feel that bad.
Oh, my... Like, it would be hard to find 2 greater jerks playing together.
Bring Sean Avery out of retirement.
Right, exactly. That's exactly it.
Then put those 3 on the ice together. Like, watch this shit show.
It's going to be... It has the potential, especially against an LA Kings squad that Cory Perry knows everybody on there, knows all of their girlfriends' names. Like, knows all their sisters' names. No, like all their mom's names. Okay. Like,
Cory already got in a lot of trouble once for that kind of behavior. Maybe go a different direction.
You just want it on the ice, not off of it.
Exactly.
But he's going to be. It's so nice to not have to worry about a young Oilers team facing a Cory Perry. It's now some young Kings players that have to deal with the bananas out there. Like, it's going to be crazy. Yeah. Especially because a guy like Cory Perry knows that this might be the last trip.
Yeah.
Right? So
there might not be a lot more.
Throw all caution to the wind as far as
how old is Cory Perry? Is he 38? Oh, he's 38.
I want to say,
I was going to say 36, let me look it up. But man, he might have another go. I mean, he's had a good year. Yeah. Like, he was really good in Chicago before that happened. And
38 will be 39 in May.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yep. That's getting up there.
So to play next year in the playoffs, he'd have to be 40.
Yeah, that might be a little Well, we'll see how he does. I mean, if he has a good playoff run here for the Oilers, and is the Cory Perry that we've all... I mean, he's not the MVP of the league anymore. But
if I was Cory Perry, I would do the Risto Ritzalainen for the next 5 years. I would go and find a European team that lets me sign a contract that releases me like whatever, what is it, 4 weeks before the playoffs that you need to be on an active rot? Like that releases me, that lets me go and pick whatever Stanley Cup contender I want to go and
sign for the league minimum.
Exactly.
Everyone's going to have the cap space for that.
Yeah, like the Oilers did that for 2 of their cups, did they not? With Risto Ritzalainen, the was he Finnish, whatever, defenseman or whatever, who'd all of a sudden just appear just in time for the playoffs and go and play 20
you're
minutes
dating yourself a little bit. I had to think about who the heck you were talking about there for a minute.
That's that kind of like...
Just sit on the sidelines, wait for part of the year, and then go pick some team.
A head coach of a Stanley Cup contending team that wouldn't love to just break the glass and bring in a Cory Perry for the playoffs. Like, you maybe don't need a guy that old on your 82-game roster, but as soon as the playoffs starts, I would throw him out there until he can't do it anymore.
How things changed. Last playoffs, everyone in the city's just riffing on Cory Perry when he does. But once he joins your team, it's just how great is this guy?
That's the thing. There's a handful of guys that are always in the league that you'd love to have on your team, but you just despise playing against them. And he obviously is, right there at the top of that list in the league.
Well, he's awful to play against.
Mm-hmm. But you love him on your team anyway.
Exactly. He's going to score a goal that you don't want him to score. He's going to score in a way that you think is illegal. He's going to get away with things against your top players that you can't believe aren't called.
Yeah.
He's going to do things that are borderline and not get suspended for when the guy a week ago got suspended for it. Like, he's that type of guy.
Things he's going to say to you are
and every whistle he's going to say something to you that is the worst thing you've ever heard.
Yeah, you're going to want to kill him and start to focus on wanting to kill him instead of play your game. Yeah, that's the way it works.
Box Pounder says Rentorexy.
Yeah. What?
Rentorexy.
Yeah,
good one.
For him every year for the Oilers. What's the biggest fear you guys have of the Oilers? If they're like, we're talking about how good they are. Injury. What's the big thing that you look at the Oilers that is just injury?
Yeah.
Just be healthy, because they've been relatively healthy all season.
Yeah, knock on wood.
All that stuff.
Injury to Matthias Ekholm. Injury to
a top forward.
Like, or an injury to their goaltender. So that's the biggest fear is that there is just going to be something that happens that derails them, not even physically, just emotionally, mentally, where all of a sudden they have a hard time getting over it. So this team is so led by their top players, which is what we wanted, which is how this team was built. But that's your big Achilles heel, is it's not a next man up lineup. It is not that type of team.
Well, I'd still say a little bit too. They got to prove that they can take it all the way, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, Stu's still a young goaltender, and he did not have the best playoffs last year. Is he going to be able to step up and give them the goaltending that he's given them over the last 5-6 months? I think he is. I hope he is, and he's certainly preparing himself mentally for it. And so I think the Oilers are going to get the goaltending out of him they want, but he's got to prove that. And just as a team, I mean, they've got to get there. It's not an easy thing to do. The Stanley Cup is not an easy trophy to win, and the Oilers got to prove that they can do it. And it's gonna be a fun ride to see if they can get there and get over the hump for sure.
Skinner's the one for me that as great as the season he had, it's different come playoff time.
Sure it is.
And that's when he needs to answer some questions for me for these playoffs, just to feel comfortable that this team is going to go on its roll. And he doesn't have to be 940, 930 save percentage. Average, just above average. And I think this team's good enough to then go win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, to me, it's just make the big save at the key time.
Yeah.
Like when this team has a 3-2 lead with 15 minutes to play and that power play happens, he needs to be the difference maker on the penalty kill, right?
Yeah.
Like he We just need those moments that can suck the will to win out of the other team, and that's what goaltenders can do in the playoffs. Is put doubt into the mind of the other team, and they can also put hope into the mind of the other team with one shaky goal where the other team goes, "Oh, there's blood in the water," right? So that's the key to goaltending.
So, but I'm also going to throw out there. I mean, it's playoffs, so the Oilers forwards, they need to play responsibly defensively. And that's, especially early on in the season. I mean, it was a train wreck in their D zone. And yes, they got better. I mean, there's games here and there where it's like,
That attention to detail goes missing.
Right.
You're right.
That attention to detail needs to be 60 minutes hard every game. And so if Stu lets in a few, let's not just point the finger. I'm buddies with him, so I'm a big defender. But, man, the guys got to come back on the back check. They got to cover their man. You can't let guys go. You got to be on your game responsibly, defensively, 60 minutes every game. It has to happen. And they have to step up. Every guy has to step up and be responsible in all zones of the ice every game. They have to. And if they do, they can win.
I'll say this in defense of Stuart Skinner. There has been no point since he was drafted where there has been a long-term regression. There's also been no point where there has been a quantum leap for this goaltender, where all of a sudden he goes from maybe he can play in the NHL to maybe he's one of the best. But there's just been slow, steady progress. Beginning of the year, there was a dip. It didn't last, right? He very quickly turned it around and found another level to the consistency of his game. So maybe we're about to see something like that as well. Not a quantum leap, but just a leveling out or a shallow climb in as far as what he's able to deliver for this hockey team. So that's the, fingers crossed.
Well, young guy still, right? Last year was first playoffs.
Yep.
So naturally...
Yeah, he is not an old goaltender by any means.
You're expecting there's going to be some sort of development. There's going to be improvements. It's just a question of how much.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for this team, it doesn't have to be that much. It doesn't have to be this massive leap for this team to potentially go win the Stanley Cup, just with how well the team is everywhere else.
Considering where the league was at leading up to the famed lockout to where we are now, man, it's hard not to look around the 16 playoff teams and not find a lot of goaltending question marks.
Yeah.
Right? There is, like I said, there's one Connor Hellebuck, and then there's a Georgiev, right? Where you're like, well, I've seen him play some really fantastic games, but that was hot garbage the other night. And there's a lot of teams who have hot garbage on the scorecard from time to time from the goaltenders.
Yeah, I think Florida's probably got a pretty good goaltender. Rangers obviously have a pretty darn good
Rangers played very
Shesterkin,
well this year.
Yeah, you're right. The Shesterkin would be the other guy that I'd have along with Thatcher Demko in that top three. But you get past that, and all of a sudden, you're searching for confidence.
Tampa Bay Lightning got a pretty good goaltender.
Well, except Father Time is starting to sneak up on that question. You're right. He has shown that he has been the best goaltender in the world. But he is not the best goaltender in the world right now.
No,
not heading into these playoffs
for sure. But I mean, he's still darn good.
Yeah,
and that team as a whole is aging a little bit and kind of moving the other direction a little bit. But
that's the last hurrah of this Lightning team, and then it's how do you retool this on the fly?
Well, this is just it.
How do you rebuild this team?
Does Steven Stamkos show up for these
one,
playoffs going, "This is my final ride. Let's make it a good one"? Or does he show up for these playoffs going, I can't believe you guys are even asking that question? And how much does that infect their locker room and start to take over? So there's a lot of good narratives out there and not a lot of cold, steady confidence, right? There's not Vegas should be that team that we're looking at going, well, there's your juggernaut. You try and stop them. And they're not that team.
Yeah.
Just because they haven't been together to see what the team looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this team with Pietrangelo in the lineup? What is the team with Stone back in the lineup with Hurdle in that lineup?
Well, they're a Stanley Cup contender.
But also that, but no, then the flip side. Okay, well, but the goaltending too.
Right.
And chemistry.
Can Aiden Hill get back to pre-injury?
That's right.
And I don't know if you could find that at the start of a playoffs. I think for that one, you kind of want to find a little bit something prior to the playoffs.
Yeah.
When you have to find it all of a sudden in a best of 7 against the Dallas Stars. Yeah. That could be very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, you just mentioned Tampa Bay and how do they retool this on the fly? Tampa Bay is not retooling anything because some of the trades they've made over the last 2 or 3 years to try to keep this run going. They've absolutely decimated the cover. Like there is no cupboard, and it's not for a few years because they've traded away their next 2 or 3 first-round draft picks.
You're a diehard Blackhawks fan. You saw that firsthand, right? Like you saw what it takes to give your core group every opportunity they can at greatness. Yeah. But at some point, the bill comes due. Yeah. Right?
And the bills do. And we're rebuilding. Partly thanks to Tampa Bay. Yeah. We got their first round draft pick last year, get it again this year. And, you know, we got a pretty good player out of that pick last year. Oliver Moore is going to be a stud. Yeah. And, you know, but then they made that Tanner Jeannot trade and traded 2 more first round picks for the year after and the year after. I mean, holy, what are they doing for Tanner Jeannot?
I think they know that Connor Bedard's time is going to be on his second contract, not his first. I think that's what they know.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But there's a lot of guys coming that second contracts for a lot of them. I mean, we have so much salary cap space and a really smart young GM that has got it. I think he's got it all figured out. And as this gets pieced together and these guys hit their second contracts, like I think we're about to sign Vlasic to an 8-year deal for probably around $5 million a year. Yeah. That guy's a stud, man. He's going to be so good. He is good or so good already. Yeah, and getting him for 8 at 5 is going to be an unbelievable deal.
At least teams like Tampa Bay and the Chicago's, at least they've got the rings and their names on a cup to show what they paid for. Yeah. Whereas, man, watching San Jose this year was, to me at least, it was tragic.
Right, and in Anaheim, and I guess Anaheim did get 1 cup.
Yeah, Anaheim got a cup. Yeah, and tried to stay like. Because of Ryan Getzlaf, tried to still give him as many competitive years, and now they're paying that bill. But man, San Jose to have never had it,
and be where they are now,
and to get that bad, like that's a tough building.
People give me the gear sometimes. Blackhawks are playing golf now. I'm like, on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the plan.
We're playing golf on purpose. But wait 3 years and we're not going to be playing golf again. But geez, I got to see 3 cups in whatever it was 7 years. Like, yes, please. Yeah. I will trade that for this. I mean, because what a run that was. That was so much fun.
Speaking of rebuilding on the fly, the team that interests me this offseason, because they have to choose one or the other. They either have to start thinking about burning it to the ground, or can we make a couple of moves and get ourselves back? It's the St. Louis Blues, right? Like they've got some names on that roster that could bring back a king's ransom at the draft or whatever. But it also means that you're not a competitive team if you move those names out. So, like, what's the choice of teams like that who they've won their Stanley Cup? They have guys of a good age that they could still be pushing for stuff. Yeah. But do they actually have what it takes to actually contend for a Stanley Cup?
The worst place in the league to be is where St. Louis Blues are. Another team I'll throw at you, the Calgary Flames.
Well, Calgary Flames are different because they've got albatross contracts that can't be moved, that nobody wants, that are so long term, are going to affect this franchise for the next 6 years. Yeah. Like there's no fixing the Flames. And they can't even break themselves right. Yeah. Right? Like they can't even go 3 years from now it's going to be pretty good. No, 3 years from now you're still paying Jonathan Huberdeau $10 million a year to score 40 points. Yeah. Like that's I don't know how you fix that.
Is that a hurdle deal? You eat $4 million, $5 million, and you send it somewhere else.
I have no idea.
And for that entire time, you've got dead cap on your book of $4 million, but it's better than $10 million.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, luckily, the Coyotes have now been solved, so you do actually have a team that will spend money on their roster. All of a sudden, you've got $30 more million that weren't available in the league last year.
Yeah, but it was also you had a team that would eat your bad contracts a little bit too. There's the give and take with that.
Well, that's just it. So
there's a lot of good pieces there. I mean, I don't think that that the Utah team is going to win the Stanley Cup next year.
But they'll be competitive
they
quicker.
got some teams.
Yeah.
They got
Andre
some
Tourigny
players.
said that their turning point of the season, because they were in the mix for the playoffs, was in January when rumblings first started about the future of the Coyotes. He said that's when the team, you could just see that just went away on them.
Yeah.
That was their turning point.
But, the rebuilding is not linear. Like, who in their right mind thought that the New Jersey Devils were going to miss the playoffs this year with the young, talented team they got? And
Goaltending.
Buffalo, fair.
Buffalo still can't
Buffalo
get back in.
Sabres have a
The Oilers
lot
took
of
a
great
long
young
time.
pieces. Absolutely. But, Oilers, though, they got two absolute juggernauts, where Buffalo doesn't have two juggernauts, but they've got 5, 6 guys, 7 guys that are just really
Yeah,
good.
well, it makes you think about culture, and how important culture is, and when you go and do make those additions have to help more than just on the score sheet. They have to bring something to your dressing room.
Yeah.
Right? And the Oilers have gotten lucky in as far as not only have they addressed some weaknesses in their roster, but they have fortified that dressing room with a lot of their signings so that they can then go and bring in a Cory Perry and not worry about their dressing room, right? Because their dressing room was already rock solid. You can go and find some jerks after you do that. Whereas if you're a Buffalo Sabres squad, if you have a fragile dressing room, not only do you need to address that, but you also can't go and get a Cory Perry because he's only going to make things worse in a dressing room.
But a fascinating trade that Buffalo made, that Bowen Byram pickup. Wow, because they traded a really good, solid young forward, which they have lots of. Mm-hmm. But they felt they were missing that. And I mean, Bowen Byram was 3 or 4 overall a couple of years ago. Didn't that feel like it was hockey trade
that the Colorado Avalanche were looking at a player that there is some concussion concerns with Byram, but they also looked at it and said, he's a 1. And we already have a 1.
We have Cale Makar,
And so it doesn't do us any good to try and slot him into a different roster spot that's not what he's built for. So let's give him a chance to go and be a number 1.
Right. And which Buffalo needed.
Yeah.
And that's a hockey trade. Many times now you're seeing trades where it's, you're trying to finagle salary cap stuff. And there was a legit hockey trade where both teams are getting great young players.
And they weren't trades that were for this year.
No, absolutely not.
Those were, which is crazy to say with Colorado, but that's a Colorado team going, no, this addresses a log jam that we had on our defense, helps us sort out the way that we want to run it, and gives us depth for the next 4 years. That they got, both teams got better out of a deal, which is weird to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
The GCL Diesel pregame show with Tom Gazzola. Reminder, he's on location, Hudson's West Edmonton Mall. Going to see you there tonight. You coming out?
Is that where you're going to be?
I'll be there.
Then I guess I got to go.
Hudson's Bourbon. It's the EST watch party for this one. Tommy will be there for pre and post game. He's at Hudson's all playoffs. First 2 games he's at West Ed. Games 3 and 4 he'll be at White Ave. And then we got to figure out the schedule after that as this playoffs progress. But the GCL Diesel pre and post game shows all playoffs at Hudson's tonight. It gets going at 6:30, 8 o'clock game time. Well, on the schedule, it's listed as 8 o'clock for
it's a long
Oilers
2
Kings.
anthems, man.
So tomorrow the city will be moving a little bit slower, I would imagine. But yeah, the GCL Diesel tonight, Hudson's at West Edmonton Mall on Bourbon Street. This is the EST Hangout. Matt Iwanyk, McCourt, Wil Fraser with you here. The EST FlyAway keyword coming up about 10 minutes here on the Hangout. Oiler news. Small thing.
Okay.
Transaction.
Oh.
They've recalled as Oilers' emergency backup goalie, Ryan Fanti.
Okay.
He's in the ECHL.
So
I think he's their
they need
E-bug
somebody to go and take some shots in practice.
now. Yeah, and I think he becomes their E-bug probably.
Yep.
So that if anything were to happen in the game
E-bug.
to both, you've got him there. The American Hockey League is still playing, so you're not touching those goalies
the
there.
Black Aces aren't coming up in droves yet.
But so Ryan Fanti recalled as emergency backup goalie for the Edmonton Oilers. There's their big move.
Total
for
guilty
today.
pleasure. I'm just so happy that Sam Gagner is back up. I'm just just for him, like not even for the team, just for him and man, the garbage teams he played on, for him to actually finally be here in the playoffs in this city. I'm pretty thrilled to see that.
Does he get in a game somewhere along the line, though? Do you think?
Yeah, I think. I
don't.
I think if injury,
yes.
he gets in. If 3-1 series lead or 3-0 series lead, you're gonna let him get into a lineup.
But you got to think that what's he 14, 15 on the depth chart?
Yeah, that's exactly where I'd place him. Yeah.
Yeah, I only see him coming in for injury. Yeah, there'd have to be some pretty couple of guys coming out, and then Sam Gagner gets that game.
Yeah.
And if a couple guys are coming out and Sam's going in for injuries, then it's like, oh boy, what's going on here?
He's a crafty vet, though.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be your top players. If Sam Gagner is going in, I don't think that we're talking about injuries that are too much for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
I think that they'd be able to overcome it to a degree, depending how long.
Yeah.
Like Sam Gagner is still good to come in for one or two games and produce whatever you need. So I don't think it's the worst thing, but
no, the worry
something happened.
The worry with a Sam Gagner is it's been the same worry since he was 17 years old and being drafted, is that he's tiny and that hockey grinds you down. And so I'll take Sam Gagner on a 2-game stint anywhere, anytime. The problem is Sam Gagner after
long-term
8, 9, 10 games, after guys running downhill on him, it takes a toll, right? Yeah. Like there's only so much rest and recovery can do to a body before it starts to slow you down. So a fresh Sam Gagner, that guy makes a difference. An unfresh Sam Gagner becomes a liability, right? Like so, and that's always been the case with Sam.
And also when you have him for those 1-2 games, you could literally slot him anywhere in the forward group, and he'll produce. You could throw him on the first line, and he actually would produce.
Yeah.
You could throw him at the bottom of the line, and he'll do the job that is required.
Yeah.
Well, his brain still works as good as it ever has. He's still crafty, still knows the areas of the ice to go to, still knows where the puck's going to get to. It's always been the same thing. He's always going to get bodied. He's always going to have guys running, and he's not fast enough. He's never been fast enough to account for that. So, but yeah, his stick handling, his vision are still world class.
And a great guy.
And just honestly, one of the finer citizens in the NHL. So
that's why you just love it. If they do get up 3-0, just plug them in.
God.
Just to
that would just feel so good, right?
Yeah.
Especially for the Edmonton. Like there are guys that leave this town that no matter where they play, they put a smile on your face when you see them out on the ice.
Yeah.
That was always the case with Sam Gagner, but to know just how awful his early years were in this town playing on some bad teams, to see him be able to put on an Oilers jersey on a successful one would be really nice.
Well, just think of the time where Gagner and Cogliano were the toast of the town. Those were the
and Nielsen.
That was rebuilt 1.0.
Yeah,
that was 1.0. That's right.
2.0 was Hope.
Yep.
Hall, Omar, Pierre, Everly.
Yeah.
And then McDavid, Draisaitl's 3.0.
Yeah.
3.0 has been very good.
Well,
3.0 has been pretty perfect.
McDavid's been here.
It's just no cup yet, so he won't go that
almost
far.
a decade now for McDavid. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Time flies.
I know. I'll still never forget. I was on an LRT going to Edmonton Eskimo at the time football game, and in between when I could get internet on my phone was the draft lottery. And I holler on the LRT, Oilers are getting McDavid, but it came up and like the whole LRT went crazy because they won the draft lottery. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, my wife and I were on a couples weekend. We were just the two of us into Jasper, just to hang out and go for dinner. And we went to Syrah's in Jasper, which is a really nice restaurant. And right before we left, they had won the draft lottery. And so I kind of had a grin on my face. And so we're sitting down, we're getting our first glass of wine, and this younger couple than us sits down, and they had just gotten engaged. So this was their engagement dinner. And so they're like, whatever. And she gets up to go to the bathroom. And the fiance quickly goes over to me. He's like, "Did you hear about the draft lottery?" And we're like giving high fives under the table, and then there's another guy behind us who's kind of giving a fist pump. Like, it was just one of those moments. I remember that because I was so I was so jaundiced towards first overall draft picks and how they were going to be the next savior. And I'd been hearing about this Connor McDavid, and I'd probably hurt my eyes from rolling them every time somebody was like, "No, this is the next Sidney Crosby."
One, yeah.
And I had just been completely like, "You guys, like, I've seen it, and that's like, have you seen what this actually looks like? It's a bunch of kids who don't know how to work out consistently." And then, because of my job, I was like, I better actually watch some film. And so they were playing his junior games online. And so I tuned in for one and went, "Oh, I haven't seen that before." And then I tuned in for another and went, "Oh my goodness, no, I have not seen that before." And I probably watched 5 of his junior contests before that draft lottery. And I was like, "Oh no, this is
It's worth the high fives under the table.
This is different. This is not just the best player in his draft year. This is a generational talent." So when they won that, I was just like, "Well, everything changes now." Like,
absolutely. And it did.
This is the next one.
So because I'm a Blackhawk fan, last year when the draft lottery happened, I'm in Rogers Place with a McDavid jersey on before the Oilers game was starting, and as I wasn't even paying attention to the draft lottery because we were third from the bottom, thinking, not going to win this. And then all of a sudden, my phone is just blowing up, and it's down to the Hawks and Anaheim, I think it was.
Yeah, because Anaheim had a shot at Crosby and Bedard and got neither.
I'm like, my phone's blowing, so I'm like bringing it up, and I'm live. I'm just refreshing Twitter. And then I scream, "We got Bedard!" I'm just going nuts, and everyone's looking up at me, and I'm like, "What? Like, how did we get Bedard? What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm a Blackhawk fan." I'm like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Wow!" Like, what a moment, though, right? I mean, when you like that guy, same thing. Everyone knew it's just different.
Yeah,
with him. I mean, how many bazillion points did he get in the World Juniors last year and whatnot?
Yeah, if you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan, if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, you must look at the cities of Pittsburgh, Chicago, and Edmonton and just hope for an asteroid, right? It must be so disheartening to see those three franchises consistently go out there and get like league altering talent.
Yeah.
And consistently do it.
And for the Hawks, right after Kane and Taves are out, all of a sudden here comes Bedard. Like, how lucky is that? But and then there's Leafs fans.
Yeah, well, no, the Leafs actually have
their window was open.
They do have.
Is it?
Quite possibly the best goal scorer ever on their roster right now. Time will tell. Like he has to stay healthy, but at the rate he scores goals, by the time it's all said and done, he'll be on a very, very small list of pure goal scorers.
If he's going to win a cup, he's going to have to leave Toronto with his next free agency.
Well, or learn how to play goal, like,
or become the GM and not sign Nylander, who's to a crazy contract for a soft player.
Yeah, well, the Nylander, the rumors of the St. Louis trades and the possibility of a Parayko going the other way, like. I'm sorry, Leafs fans. I know you love the offense, but that was the trade, and this year was the year to make that trade.
Yeah.
Like, you could have made yourselves a very scary hockey team with just a few additions out of St. Louis, but
we'll
you
see
didn't
how they
do
respond tonight to the Bruins after that game on Saturday. Well, I'm intrigued by their response to see how they. After what happened in Game 1, how do you come back from that?
So if it's a blowout again,
you don't feel the same way about that series as you do about Oilers and Kings?
No, the Leafs could win a series if they play. Like the Leafs have talent still.
Yes.
Like a lot more to me than the LA Kings in that.
Well, that's fair. For sure.
The Leafs have the ability. Not saying they will to win a series or two in the playoffs. They do,
but they've only ever done it once.
No, I know. And that doesn't help. And maybe they're poorly constructed.
They're playing a team that has done it
really good.
More than once.
Yes.
Who's also not as good as they were in the past.
But they have a knowledge on that team.
And two goaltenders, which are substantially better than than Toronto's. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Last week, Matty, we talked about how many teams we thought actually could win the Stanley
They
Cup.
wouldn't have been on my list.
Neither of us said Toronto's not on our list.
No,
got
but they could go
chance.
win a series or two still.
Well, not against Boston. They're not going to beat Boston.
Well, but I'm just saying, like on pay, like they have talent there to go do it.
Yeah.
This does seem like a series that they're not going to be
They
able
have
to
talent,
go
but they
against
don't
the
have
Bruins.
depth.
But that's where I'm intrigued to see response from Gagner too.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see how they come out tonight. And are we seeing a team that's ready to just start crumbling and throw in the towel? Or are we see a team that's ready to go, that was just game one. We have a long series
What's
ahead.
their answer back?
Yes.
You're right.
I'm fascinated by that. It was also fascinating that on Sportsnet, I think of 17 people who picked that series, 15 picked the Leafs.
Come on.
Yeah.
Were these people all from Toronto?
Yes.
A lot of them are.
Yes.
Mark Spector, one of two that picked the Bruins to win the series.
Yeah.
I saw it on, I think it was Reddit this past weekend. Somebody posted it, and it was just, I think they went to go pick every series, and they had 17 people. Like Jeff Merrick and all them.
I'll
and
say
it was
this.
is 15 of the 17 said the Leafs are going to beat the Bruins.
Leafs Nation can riot and burn that city down if they beat the Bruins. Like, honestly, like if, because I don't have confidence in them. So if they overreact to a round one win, all hats off. They should, because.
And so what's the reward if they do? The Florida Panthers?
Well, this is just like,
Or the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Or the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I'm not ready to count out the Lightning just
Yeah.
yet. Personally.
although that Florida Panthers team come playoff time, talk about a team that's built for the playoffs. That team is built for the playoffs.
I keep saying I don't like their team very much, but
I don't like them as a regular season team, but to meet them day in, day out, they'll get to you. Like,
Well, like Kachuk, Kachuk's gonna battle it out relentlessly. I don't know. I think they're gonna get by Tampa, and then I think Boston gives it to them in the next round.
well, Boston wants
Redemption
to.
from last year.
Yeah, Boston feels like they have unfinished business.
And Carolina, I really like Carolina's team a lot.
Yeah,
Hard not to, but
it's hard not to. But talk about the underachievers. Like, we get pretty narrowly focused on the Oilers in this town and what they haven't achieved. But that Carolina squad, like, they should have at least one trip to a finals at this point with that current iteration. And the fact that they don't is, as much as I like their head coach, it's no wonder that you've got an owner that has actually asked the question, is this the coach for us? Like, because
if they don't do it this year, and maybe they've got to take a good hard look at that for sure.
yeah.
Time now for the EST FlyAway keyword. We want to send you to Las Vegas, 2 nonstop flights, 3 nights accommodations, tickets to Cirque, thanks to our partners, the LVCVA out in Vegas and FlyYEG from right here in Edmonton, the Edmonton International Airport. Nonstop flights to over 50 destinations. Your sport trip starts with a nonstop flight from a FlyYEG. Visit FlyYEG.com for more information. You only have 4 days to qualify. You have today, you have tomorrow, you have Wednesday, you have Thursday, then we're done. Then we're giving this away Friday morning on The Nielsen Show with Dusty and Lieutenant Eric. So get your phones out. Get ready to text to 780-218-9999. Adams is the keyword today. Adams, A-D-A-M-S, Adams, in Devontae Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders, wide receiver. So Adams, 780-218-9999. Get those texts in right now. Zacticum will, even though he's not a practicum anymore, he's still Zacticum for now, until we find a new nickname, I guess. He'll call someone in the next 5 minutes or so. We'd love to speak with you on the show. But Adam, 780-218-9999 to get into the mix for the EST FlyAway keyword today right here on the Hangout. 2 more chances later today, one on the Lock Shop and one on the Oil Stream with myself and Tom Casolas. Will get you set further for Oilers Kings Game 1 down at Rogers Place. And again, the GCL Diesel pregame show live from Hudson's Bourbon Street in West Edmonton Mall. 6:30 tonight. Tommy will be there. He'll also be there for postgame, and a few of us will be there during the game. So come join us. We're almost giving this away. It's almost all done. Our first big giveaway coming to an end.
Wow.
It's been 7 weeks.
And then what?
We've got a few things. You know of one?
I do know of
And
one.
because of my appearance, I'm ineligible, right?
No,
That's what
you'd be
you're
allowed
saying?
to text in.
I'm
I could use
surprised you didn't bring your phone out and
I
text
could,
in
yeah,
right now.
I could use a trip to
No,
Vegas.
rules and regs say just EST employees. And based on he's technically allowed to win too.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah,
So
let's go, Mer.
You could have pulled out your phone. That would have been hilarious. If your phone rang,
Yeah.
Zach was like, "Hey, hello."
We've had a few people do that. Bellsy, Sean Bell, I think last week did it.
He texted in while
He
he
had
was
his
on
phone.
the show.
I think he was trying to. Didn't get the call.
Oh, that'd have been so funny.
Didn't get the call.
Oh, brother.
So,
Yeah, I
what's
don't know
your
how that would
prediction
go.
for the series?
I think it comes
Oilers,
down to
Kings.
tonight.
Comes down to tonight.
If-
Down to
what's it-
game one.
If the Oilers win tonight, short series, done quick.
Give a number, man.
5 games.
Okay, Oilers in 5.
If the Oilers lose tonight, go 6.
Go 6. Okay. But so of those two, what is it?
Oilers in 5.
Okay. You are still the most frustrating guy to nail down on anything like this.
What are you picking then?
Yeah, Oilers in 5.
Oilers in 5.
Yeah.
Oilers won't lose. 4.
Oilers in 4. Sweep.
Yeah,
We're calling the sweep.
I could see that completely.
I always say
Like-
5 because anytime you've got a goaltender like a Cam Talbot, who's not going to win a series, he does have the game to win a game, right? To frustrate them for a game. So
If the Oilers come out firing tonight, take care of business tonight, then I'm going to assume they'll do it again in game 2. Then it's like, okay, LA is going to go home and do what? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, sure, you go home, you think you're going to bounce back and maybe get a split. Yeah, maybe. But I think the Oilers will just beat them down. And
Kings will get 1 in LA. I think that's where I see it.
And
then
yeah, if they do, sure.
they'll come up and the Oilers will just want to end the series because we won't want to fly back to Los Angeles.
Either way,
Just be
4 or
done.
5, whatever. Oilers are not losing this series. They're just not.
Well, and if they do,
something
lots
happens.
of discussions.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be
If
real
they do,
discussions on a very disappointing
something
playoffs.
happened.
Oh,
Big
boy.
time.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It could be injury. It could be the performance of certain players. Like whatever it is, the Oilers then completely messed up. Like I know you shouldn't look past opponents or things like that. The Oilers are the better team. The Oilers should win this series. And if we're talking about a lost series at the end of this,
What would be
Big
worse? The beginning of this hockey season for the first, whatever it was, 12 or 15 games?
Or losing the first round.
losing the first
Yeah.
round. Well, could you imagine
round
what
loss.
the city would... Could you
Yeah.
imagine what
this
the
is
city
what
would be
people
like?
will remember more than the losing
Well,
at the start of the year.
I mean,
This is the thing.
Holy.
Think of Boston last year, right? I
Oh,
mean,
it happened.
after the
This is-
season that they put together to lose in the first round.
Columbus swept Tampa Bay there or whatever it was 3 or 4 years ago.
So, I
and
mean,
everyone had
it
Tampa
does
Bay winning
happen
the cup.
to very good teams.
Sure.
But the Oilers, I think where Oilers fans could be upset is the trajectory of the Oilers is going the wrong way. It was conference finals, second round,
I see.
first round.
That's
And you're going the wrong way. You need to get back the other way and stuff. So but yeah, it's the goaltending for me from the Kings, and the fact that I think if the Oilers score 3 goals, the Kings don't have 4.
It's true. Yeah, it's health though too. Like
Yeah,
if Connor McDavid shows that the time off, but at the end of the year was all he needed. It could be a hands on the throat type of moment for this Oilers squad that they've learned every lesson they need to learn in the playoffs, and now they are a playoff hockey team. So game 1's going to be interesting. Heck, the first 5 minutes is going to be interesting, right? Because we've seen this Oilers squad come out flat and be down 2-0. Right, and still go on to win the game, but leave you with question marks about how serious are they.
Well, and Matty was alluding to that earlier. When was the last time the Oilers won a game 1?
Oh, somebody in the nasty chat had Oilers or is it Zulu? Oilers 1-9 in the last 10 game ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. But that has to change. If they are a legit Stanley Cup contender, which we all think they are, that can't happen. Not tonight.
It depends. This series, well, actually, I don't think it has to happen because moving forward, there's a chance the Oilers will be the road team for game 1s.
They've
And that so like you go, you just
Gotta
need
win
you just need the split on the road. That's all it matters. So I don't care if it's game 1 or 2. Go get the split, and it was a good.
goes on in their own minds as a team if they lose tonight. The doubt, self-doubt, like there's a man. They can
For who?
sure. They're the winners. If they lose tonight, they can bounce back from it. But boy,
I don't think there's self-doubt for this team, not for this against this opponent, because also the history is that they don't win these first games.
well, they got to change that.
I would like to see them hit a playoffs with that sort of wash, rinse, and repeat mindset that we saw when they went on their run.
Yeah.
Right? Where it was like, no matter the opponent, no matter the situation, we're going to go out and play the exact same style of hockey every single shift, every single line, to the point that it becomes boring.
Yeah.
Right? Like by win 15 of that streak, you knew exactly what every single shift was going to look like. And so if they can get back to that, I mean, when the Oilers made their run that Chris Pronger year, they got to that point in their game where they found a consistency to it that it becomes really hard to beat when you get a consistency in a lineup. And the Oilers have shown it this year that they have that ability to find that consistency.
Just come out, play your game, win 4-1, win 5-1.
Yep.
And let's just move on. That's what should happen.
Yeah.
You got a call to take.
I got a call to take now. It's the EST FlyAway qualifier for the Hangout today. Zach, who do we got on the line?
VR Montenegro.
VR Montenegro finally gets through. Congratulations, good sir. You're in the final week. Have you ever been to Las Vegas before? Hey, VR? VR Montenegro.
Can you hear him?
I could hear him, but I don't think he can hear me.
Let me reconnect.
Okay, we'll try a reconnection. If not, then
Can you hear me?
maybe we've been struggling with this the last few games, or for a few shows, I guess, if you will, for the connection with the phone call. Do you have to call back, or did you hang up?
No, I didn't hang up.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I love just hearing Zach right now doing the whole commercial
Yeah, I'm
there.
just gonna connect.
We'll try this one more time and see if we can get VR on the line here. Who's I know he's been trying this entire time. VR Montenegro, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Hey, congratulations! One, now you can hear me, and also you're in the mix. I was asking just, have you ever been to Vegas before?
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
Awesome, and if you win, you taking your wife with you?
I am, sir.
Perfect. Well, congratulations. You are in the draw. Keep your phone on this Friday during the morning show, because if you're the winner, boys, we'll give you a call, let you know that you're off to Vegas. Perfect. That was a rough phone connection there with VR Montenegro. Could hear a lot of bit of the wind, but he's into the draw. Your next chance to qualify with Hust. You're in the lock shop. I'll give someone a call at the end of the lock shop, and then the final chance to qualify today will be on the oil stream with myself and Tom Gazzola, as we will have then 3 more days to qualify afterwards.
I knew that was happening.
So you just do it on purpose? It's fun when
It's unavoidable.
It's fun when people are new here and like into the Hangout, and they do that, and they get really worried because they're like, "What? Like I didn't do anything." Like, we know that the chairs do that. Don't worry. Portions
And
of
if
this.
that wasn't the chair, I have a medical condition.
You better go get that checked out. Holy.
Portions of this hour of the EST Hangout are brought to you by the High Product Marketing, official merch partner of EST, promotional products that bring the buzz. Be sure to check them out, thehighproductmarketing.com. So if you're looking for any promo products, talk to Chelsea. She'll take good care of you.
Murray, do you want to play GM with me?
All right, let's
'Kay.
do it.
Watching that game between Avalanche and the Jets last night, and I've done this the last couple of years in the playoffs, watching Colorado going, they should be better than this. Like, this is a Stanley Cup winning lineup. Like, they know what it takes. What's missing? Calgary Flames offer you Nazem Kadri with $2 million retained. Do you make that deal?
Yeah,
Do you?
I think so.
Like, do you think it's the Kadri factor that they're kind of
Well-
missing out of that lineup right now? Like
Goaltending.
I mean,
Well, that's a good
goaltending,
point,
sure, but
too.
it's not like they had world-class goaltending when they won a Stanley Cup.
But Kemper was fine.
Kemper was fine. Georgiev is fine. Like, they have
And
fine goaltending.
Put up 7.
It's true, but I know they brought in Middlestat because that's kind of what they were hoping for, to plug the sort of the middle depth. But Kadri also has an attitude and a feistiness to him that is tough to replicate.
You know, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And guys like Kadri, he leaves for the money, goes to Calgary and whatnot. But man, in Colorado, he was great.
He was great
He was
that
great.
year, and he
And-
was great in those playoffs.
You know, sometimes I wish players and guys would recognize that hey, I'm a good fit here, and maybe they don't have the money to give me there, but it's not necessarily all about.
Well, Nuge did that.
Sure, and
right.
and
Nuge could have gone to the open market, made $2 million dollars more a year, and been the number one guy on a bad team.
right.
But he's been the number one guy on a bad team. He knows what that feels
Right.
like. And obviously it's worth $2 million a year is what it's worth to not have to be in that situation.
So if Kadri would have just said, you know what, I'm happy here, I'm content here, I fit in here, this is a great spot for me as a player. What's the number
go
that
win a
works
couple
for
more
you?
cups.
Yeah, let's figure this out that works for both of us. What's the most that you can give me, and let's just sort this out. And I think that would be great. I think he should have done that.
Well, and on the flip side, Colorado looked at him and was like, "Yeah, you're good, but you're not Nathan McKinnon. You're not
Right.
Cale Makar.
Right, you can't sign everybody to big bucks.
We can't sign everybody to big bucks." And it looks like they've missed him ever since he's left.
Sure.
Like they've still put up points. They've still looked like a Stanley Cup contender. But then the playoffs start, and this is not the team that won a Stanley Cup.
You need guys to play all kinds of roles to win the Stanley Cup, and I think that's where, we were talking about earlier, guys like Cory Perry here in Edmonton and Sam Carrick. Those are guys that are going to help this team win the Stanley Cup right here and right now.
And if you're Calgary, do you do that deal just to?
Calgary's going to find a way to blow some things up.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
I think Markstrom, they're going to find a way to move Markstrom.
Well, I think that New Jersey deal is still there.
And
if you're New Jersey,
you got to make that
you're
happen.
out of your mind if you're not moving heaven and earth to bring in a Markstrom. Because
who did they get at the trade deadline
Or
again?
Carolina
They
might
got-
try to jump in.
Yeah.
Depending on these playoffs.
yeah,
What goalie did New Jersey get at the deadline? They got somebody that was an upgrade, but not.
you're right.
It was too little, too late.
And
but,
it wasn't enough of an upgrade to actually make a difference.
but so Calgary's got to find a way to blow that stuff up. I mean, that's the thing. You can't just be a middling team. You can't be the 21st, 22nd best team in the NHL
Jake
because you have no way.
Jake Allen, thank you. That's who it was. That's right.
You've got no way of drafting your way to be a better team if you're drafting 12th, 13th, 14th overall, and you're not good enough to make the big jump in the playoffs.
To me, the biggest thing isn't even about the playoffs. It's you have no way to build the proper culture in your dressing room when you're spending $10 million on a guy scoring 40 points.
Yeah. Oof. That's devastating for
It kills your dressing room no matter what, no matter how good of a guy he is. It doesn't matter because whoever is feeling like they're playing better, all they have to do is feel like they're playing better. And if Huberdeau gets a shift on the power play and they don't, they're immediately resentful going, that guy's only out there because he makes $10 million a year.
What happened to Huberdeau, though? Was it because was Florida, the guys around Florida were making him better?
He's playing in the wrong conference.
Well,
right?
I didn't expect
The West is about speed.
to see this big of a drop off. Like, it's not even just the little one. He went off a full clip.
yeah, he sure did.
Well, he's a playmaking winger, which is a tough position in the NHL because you need a goal scoring centerman. You need other people you need goal scorers on your back end as well to really optimize that type of skill set. So the fact that he can't center a line by himself is killing that franchise. So I mean, but he doesn't have the speed for it. His foot speed is just, and it never really was there. Like, he kind of needs to be able to hide with a group of guys that are fast, and he kind of surveys the offensive zone from that trailer position. Yeah. And if you don't have possession of the puck, it's hard for you to slot into that position.
Can't lie, though. I love it because I'm an ABC guy. Anybody but Calgary. So I realize that Calgary's in a hurt.
When I take holidays from watching hockey because I'm a toxic fan. Like, I'm the worst kind of fan. I get way more joy out of watching the Flames lose than I do out of watching the Oilers win. It's when I'm like, I think I need to take a break because I've been watching the scoreboard all night rather than the game because I just want to see that final loss for the Flames more than I want to see the W for the Oilers.
Well, I lived down there for a long time, and I mean there was plethora of reasons why I wanted to move back up to Edmonton. But I'm not going to lie. One of the reasons was I was just sick and tired of going to bars and restaurants and frickin' Flames and Stampeders garb was everywhere, and that's the game that were on TV. Like, I know. I don't want to watch the Calgary Flames play hockey anymore. I don't want to see Calgary Flames logos staring at me in a restaurant that I'm eating. Like, get me out of here.
If I was a Flames fan, I would just wish that the Oilers' decade of darkness had happened to a different team, because it feels like the Flames right now are hell-bent on making all the same mistakes that the Oilers made, and they refuse to learn from anything that the Oilers went through.
Good.
Right? Like, Craig Conroy seems like the nicest guy in the world.
Well,
But you don't hire Craig Conroy and his best friend Jerome McGinley to run your hockey team when you're in this situation. Yeah. And this situation requires some emotional distance. It requires some caginess and some experience.
He's got two hands tied behind his back and a leg kind of tied in there with it. I mean, there's nothing you can do.
For the ABC crowd too, especially if you're an Oiler fan for this, you also have the joy knowing that you did this to them.
Oh yeah, no,
you went in that Stanley Cup playoff. They won Game 1. Mm-hmm. You then took 4 straight and you destroyed that hockey
and
team.
Humiliated
Kachuk
them.
And Gaudreau left.
Ran away.
Like, they ran away,
and rightfully so. Like, if I'm Matthew Kachuk, I'm looking at that going, first of all, I'm playing on the wrong side of the border for what I want.
Yeah.
And secondly, I don't need Connor McDavid kicking my head in every spring. I don't want that. I don't blame him for surveying the climate, going, we don't have a Connor McDavid. We don't even have a Leon Draisaitl. So what are our chances?
Yeah.
They destroyed, at least last year, Jacob Markstrom, like going into that year. Like, everything that has happened to the Flames has kind of come from the fact that the Oilers just beat the crap out of them in those 4 games and finished them off.
Because they were great. Their regular season that year was fantastic.
And everyone thought, I was wrong in this one too. I thought that they would have been fine going to the next year, that they had pieces.
Yeah.
But it's not there. It hasn't been there. And it was a fear I had about the Oilers with Vegas this year, that at the start of the season, I'm like, did Vegas kill the Oilers enough that mentally they're going through with the Flames that... Answer is no in the end, because they've bounced back. But the Flames, it's like, if you're an Oilers fan, not only are the Flames in a bad spot, you did this to them. You caused this. You were that final stake in their heart. Yeah. And you could laugh and walk away knowing that you did this to them.
Well, absolutely. And I think the other problem for the Flames, when we talk about culture, is that was a dressing room that, at least from the outside looking in, felt like they had decided that Kachuk was a problem in their dressing room. Like, that there was guys that didn't want to constantly have to defend his antics on the ice and all of that. And that by eliminating him from the locker room, it would help things. And all they've seen since is Kachuk go and put in MVP type performances in Florida. And go to a Stanley Cup final and Jonathan Huberdeau fall on his face, where it's like, he's a really nice guy. Everyone loves showing up for practice with Hubie here, but maybe our locker room needed an asshole. Like,
and that situation there was so bad that Johnny Gaudreau chooses to go to Columbus.
I think Johnny Gaudreau decided to disappear, is what he he had been in a hockey mad market, and something tells me he just isn't built for the spotlight. And some guys aren't. Like, some guys are going to tell you, I'll take $1 million less if I don't have to ever be recognized in public. Some guys love their anonymity, and it's clear that he either wanted to go and play in New Jersey / Philadelphia, in that area of the world, his quote unquote hometown, or he wanted something comfortable. And when the hometown thing fell apart, he chose comfortable. And can't blame him. I can blame Columbus for signing him.
Well, that organization is a complete disastrous of a train wreck too. Yeah, absolutely.
That's even they're even worse than Calgary in that there never was. Like, it's not like we're pointing at, remember that playoff series that destroyed everything for them? They've never even had that moment as a franchise. Well,
they did sweep Tampa Bay.
They've had a success, but no one expected it, right? This is not a team that we've ever looked at going into a playoffs going, man, this might be their year. That Calgary year against Edmonton, there was a lot of people who thought that was a Stanley Cup contending Calgary Flames squad. They played like it in the regular season.
Just a little update from practice from Tommy. Nurse, Bouchard, Carrick, McLeod, Ryan, Desharnais, Stetcher, Gagner, Brown, Holloway, and Pickard taking optional morning skate.
Okay.
Nothing really of note there. But that's what's happening. Now we're in playoff time where everything now needs to be amplified.
Do we know if Brown is in the lineup for tonight or not?
I don't think so.
I'm a little surprised by that. I know he's had a underwhelming regular season, but I kind of felt like it's also because of his speed that this was kind of the guy that you're like,
I
it's
think
a different game in the playoffs, and it maybe plays to his advantage.
He might be. It just depends on what's going to happen with Kane and Janmark. But Janmark could probably come out of the lineup whether he's healthy
He's
or
so
not.
cagey, though, right?
Yeah.
His head coach loves him.
Yeah, the lines yesterday were McLeod in between Henry Hyman, Draisaitl between Nuge and Fogle, McLeod centering Holloway, Perry, Carrick in between Kane and Janmark, and then Ryan between Gagner and Brown. But we don't know what's going on with Kane. I think that's the one right now, especially that yesterday there's been a little cold water, whether he'd be available for game one or not.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to have to pay attention to. Knobloch should speak within the next 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
So at least by the oil stream at noon today, we'll have some sort of answer to that, I would think. But at the same time, it's also actually... It's playoff time, so I don't know if Chris Knobloch's going to say anything.
Game time decision.
All right. And the thing is, we don't know how Chris Knobloch is with the media during playoffs. Jay Woodcroft very much took the approach of gamesmanship. He would lie about, I don't want to say lie, he'd mislead. He would try to send people in an opposite direction, and he tried playing games and stuff.
Why do
I
they
don't know
want
if
the
Chris
Kings to
Knobloch's
know?
that type of coach.
Why do they want the Kings to know what their lineup's going to be? 8 hours in front of the game. They don't want that.
Because does that really matter? Like if at least if I'm the Oilers and I'm Chris Knobloch and that team, I'll beat you anyways. It's the same as the Don Matthews story that J-Mo's once told me. Is that Don Matthews used to joke, I guess, about sign stealing or something. Like, I'll give you my playbook. You still can't beat me.
Yeah. Well,
Like, I'll hand it over to you.
That's
And I'll still
gamesmanship in
beat
another
you.
way.
Like,
Absolutely.
I was like, you don't know when I'm going to call these certain plays. I'll still beat you. Here's my playbook type thing.
Yeah.
And that's the
And that you're
there's
right.
an attitude I want
the
from
Oilers
that.
do kind of have that.
Yeah.
In that, well, you can know what our lines are, but what you can also know is that for a good portion of this game, I'm just going to throw Draisaitl and McDavid out there at you.
Yeah.
Like
And what are you gonna
anytime,
do?
I can move this
anytime
around.
I've got a
the Swiss
draw
Army
down
knife
low
you mentioned earlier.
in the offensive zone with with 2 minutes to go in any of the periods, guess what you're going to see a whole bunch of? And so, you can prepare for the lines, but as soon as that starts to happen,
change
those
it.
lines start to get thrown into a blender anyways. So
that's where
It's
I don't
where
mind.
the-
I don't mind teams that are have that confidence.
It
to
is
sit
a-
there and be
it
like, I
is-
don't care. I'll tell you what you need to know because we're still going to go beat this team.
Yeah, the Oilers do have
fair.
a chance to really make that Henrique trade look really good.
Yeah.
Like with him on that top line to start, and the fact that then you can flip him and Draisaitl in and out, you can flip him and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in and out on the lines, and kind of just play around with those three centermen who can all play wing just as well as they play center. Like it can cause fits. Like especially if you start to figure out weaknesses on the defensive pairs, where it's like, well, it looks like Henrique's got so-and-so's number, so we're going to throw him out more consistently, or take your pick. Like,
You got to think Doughty's going to play 30 plus minutes tonight
exactly.
too. And so that eliminates that weakness to a certain extent.
Yeah. Which is why down low, all of a sudden, well, Doughty can't cover both Draisaitl and McDavid.
No, he can't.
And let's face it, he can't cover McDavid. Like,
Well, who can?
exactly.
It's with him, it's the contain. Can you contain him?
Yeah.
There's very few that can. Actually, Kadri's a good player against McDavid. He's always been really good
Peter
McDavid.
Angelo
Yeah.
in Las Vegas was his kryptonite.
Who's the Jet I'm thinking of? I'm forgetting. There's somebody on the Jets that does a really good job on McDavid. Too.
You're right.
But there's only a handful of guys that I sit there and be like, you actually
You figured out the spacing.
You go up against him well.
He
you
has
found
figured out
way.
the spacing,
Cale
yeah.
McCarr too, but Cale McCarr is also just a very unique.
Well,
He's just a unique.
Cale
He's
McCarr
got
is
speed,
just
too.
he's
He's
a
so-
nuclear weapon is what he is. Yeah.
But Kadri was always one that did pretty well against McDavid. Oilers, Kings, game one tonight, just after 8 o'clock down at Rogers Place. GCL Diesel Oil Stream pre and post game shows live from Hudson's West Edmonton Mall tonight with Tommy. 6:30. That gets going right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm jumping to Sunday. It's Game 4, Oilers Kings that night.
Okay.
But at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's the VIP golf show
Ooh,
with
sure
Murray
is.
McCourt, Curtis Stock. You guys are back for another year. 2
Yeah.
hours, 8 till 10.
8 till 10, yeah.
You ready
looking
for
forward
two?
to it. Absolutely. Season 6, time flies. But yeah, really excited. Like I just miss doing the show so much in the off season. I mean, there's not very much to talk about when there's snow on the ground, but the season's up and going, and pretty much all courses will be open in the city come this weekend. And excited to get back at it with Stalker and talk lots of golf, and especially local golf. Lots to talk about in the local scene. This week we have our title sponsor, Rob Wilson, owner of VIP Golf, will be on. But segment number 2, we're going to have the GM of Northern Bear on. Everyone knows about the big fire at their clubhouse, so we're going to get the lowdown on exactly what's happening there, when they're going to be open, and what it's going to look like. Because that's obviously the biggest story. And we're going to have Jeff Cuthbertson from Stony Plain on, just talk about what's going on in the city this year. What are the conditions like at the golf courses? What we're going to expect?
Dry.
Dry. How impactful is that going to be for golf courses? Yeah,
We
we'll
already
talk
have
about
fires
that.
under control in this province.
Yeah, we'll go around YEG and check in with Country Club Tour, and then Stalker and I always do our open segment, and we'll catch up on all things local golf and our winters and things like that in the open segment. But so jam-packed show. Looking forward to it, man.
This Sunday. Just feels right. That's the real
Absolutely.
start of
Have you
spring.
swung a golf club yet?
No. Today's first day I could officially do partial swings. I'll still wait a little bit till I
That's
do.
all
but
I do anyway.
I will
so.
go to... Soon I'll be able to go to like a driving range and just do some chipping and work on my chipping, which is the thing I need to really work on.
EST golf tournament in July. What's your status going to be for that?
I'm working it. Somebody's got to run it.
So there's no golf for you in
That day I'm
tournament.
out. I don't think I'll ever golf that tournament.
Really?
We'll have to we'll have to grow enough where I hire people to oversee
I
it,
think
and I won't be able to.
I think you throw a
Plus-
tee shot on hole 1 for everybody.
I throw it?
No, you hit
No,
one out.
not a chance.
Come on.
Not a chance. I'll go make a putt for someone.
By like the 18th time, you'll
I'm a
probably
putter.
really get into it.
Or I'll have to re-injured it completely and I'm done. Maybe I'll go to one hole and I'll putt for anyone. I'm a decent putter.
Yeah.
I could putt.
All right.
I could do that. No, so I won't be. I'll just be there paying attention. And who wants to golf with me? No one does. So it's all good.
Oh, you're selling
So
yourself short.
we've got that.
know.
Actually, I'm down to, I think, just a twosome left with our EST celebs. And then beyond that, I'm just waiting list. And there might
So
be
it's sold out, basically.
almost sold out. Well, and there might be some openings because there are some spots that are tied to some other things. So those might open up, and then I'll go through the waiting list. But yeah, I'm only a twosome away from what I have available right now being sold out.
Wow. Very impressive.
So,
First year, bam,
First year,
sold out.
that's been going really nice. So, well, it's a chance to golf the ranch.
Hey, we're so excited to host it. Like that TSN tournament was always such a blast, and the EST tournament just coming in and placing. Well, you remember the old TSN tournaments?
No, I don't remember a lot of them.
Oh yeah, fair. Fair.
One of my favorite was so Brent Sake would be in this a lot, and he'd always be with T-Roy, Dusty's brother-in-law. And one year, Yaremchuk got paired with them.
Yeah.
And it was like his first time ever at it, and it was just they took care of Yaremchuk really well that day.
Saker is a gong show to
Not
play
your
golf
golf
with.
carts, though. They didn't take care of those.
Which, by the way, are for sale.
Well, only a few left, and they might.
Speaking of that, I think Lieutenant Eric just retweeted it. I got to go find them. You've got some golf carts for sale.
Yeah, we have our brand new fleet that our guests are all just absolutely loving. So,
As of 5 hours ago, you have
These ones can
5
actually make it up the hills?
2022 power carts and 5 2020 power carts.
So just before I got here, I posted that in the parking lot before
Okay.
I walked up here, and just before we went on the air, I got an email from a guy that said he's going to be at a ranch in half an hour. So I connected him with their superintendent. He said I might want to buy them all.
Oh,
So I don't know what's going on because I'm here on the show, but they might all be sold. But if not, send me an email if you want a power cart. We'll
Sounds
see if
like-
we have any left.
It sounds like somebody opened a chip and putt somewhere.
Maybe. Well, a lot of people that have been buying our carts are dealers, so they take our carts, make them, fancy them up a little bit, and sell them for more money than we are. Is where we've sold a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of work selling 82 power carts.
It's
more than I
82's a lot
thought
of
it was.
anything, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's all good. We're down to the last few here, and then I'll start playing more golf instead of worrying about selling golf carts. I like it.
Instead of doing the used car salesman thing.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. What's it going to take to get you into this beauty today?
Well, and I like selling the dealers more because they're buying 8, 10, 12 carts at a time. It's those one-offs. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
man. It takes as much work to sell one as it does to sell 12. Like, yeah.
It's Penner's Pancakes in the Nasty Chat. Yes, Sunday, 8 a.m. VIP Golf Show. You could listen to it live like you're doing right now. EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio or watch it live on YouTube. So that's back for another summer, and it'll go up until September.
September 9th is the last show.
Is that Labor
20
Day or is
weeks.
it the week after Labor Day?
Week after Labor
Week
Day.
after Labor Day. So 20 weeks, and it's just some lovely. You're off to the course in the morning. Throw it on. You know, all
Absolutely.
that type of stuff. It's a fun show.
Yeah.
Fun local
We're
show.
looking forward. And Zacticum's the producer now.
Zacticum is your producer.
Love it.
So I'll come here on Sunday as well for the first one to
I
make
already
sure we're already
warned
set up.
Zacticum. At some point, I am going to have to harass him on the show about not having a clue. He's now a producer of a golf
That's
show
right.
on
He's gotta
Edmonton
learn.
Sports Talk, and he had no idea what a green jacket was. Can you, like, oh boy.
He watched some of the Masters.
I know.
And he's watched that. He's
learning.
gone to the
And he's
driving
gonna-
range.
And he's going to
We're-
have to pay attention so he learns more.
Of all the things, I didn't think we'd convince him to be a golf fan. But this process has already started, it seems.
Golf's back in this year's Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Golf needs a world governing body, don't they? Like, Olympic golf should be a team sport, shouldn't it?
Like you're saying Ryder Cup style type
Ryder
thing?
Cup style.
Because
well,
technically it is a team.
Yeah,
like there's
there's
only
a team
two
of
from each
two,
country
yeah.
to
yeah,
go.
but like I would do sort of team of 4, men and like mixed men and women. I'd do Ryder Cup style, like points, like and points to qualify as well. Like, so not every country gets to, like, so that you would actually have to have
Well, I
a
guess-
4-year competition to qualify for the Olympics.
I guess part of this though, it's like what would be the difference in swimming and golfing? Swimmers, like, and there are team
Well,
events, but there's individual
yeah,
events.
but swimming it's a timed event. It always has been an event. Every pool is the same. Like, whereas personally, when it comes to the Olympics, I have no interest in watching stroke play. Like amongst those players, I would rather see, like, I'd rather see upsets,
2-on-2 match play.
Yeah. Like I'd like to see them play because golf has a million different ways to be played.
Yeah.
So why not take advantage? Like, in the majors, you're going to see the best in the world playing stroke play.
Well, but let's just go back to your first comment. Golf needs a governing body. Well, okay, listen, before one step at a time.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
about we don't have half the best players in the world playing in some tour that
I don't
nobody
mean-
watches,
I
and
don't-
then
I don't mean a league. I mean like a double IHF or just some sort of group that organizes a way of determining which teams should show up for the Olympics. That's what I mean. Is like they organize the pre-Olympic tournaments to qualify. I mean, even tennis has a Davis Cup. Like, I'm sure if there was a governing body of golf, you could develop a really good sort of Davis Cup type model to determine the 16 teams or 32 teams that make it into some sort of a bracketed system for the Olympics. Because at that point, it becomes really interesting, I think.
I think that would be a lot of fun. You have 32 teams, so 64 golfers, and there may be a few countries like, say, USA, Canada, that would have 2 teams, maybe, if they qualified or whatever. I like it. And then, but you have a bracket system, so 32 goes to 16 to 8.
Oh, it's the Dell
And
match
how
play
do you-
type thing
But
that they
then
used
how
to
do
do.
you get to medals? I don't know. I had to
Well,
think
the
about
medals
that,
would
but
be you'd have a gold
you're
medal
playing for
game,
gold
1
medal
versus
game,
2,
and
and then
then
you'd have a bronze medal game, 3 versus 4.
Which
Winners
would
get
still
the
be
medal.
awesome.
It's like
So then
when
you
they had
need
the
a-
Dell match play, they would have the winner group out there, and they would have a third place group,
Yeah.
and they'd play with both.
And I think you'd have more. If it wasn't stroke play, you'd have more of the pros showing up because it was something different.
Yeah. There you go. You're right, because the semifinals, the 2 winners play for the gold, and the 2 losers play for the bronze. Yeah. How fun would that be?
Right?
that would be fun.
I just feel like because golf doesn't have that governing body to sort of advocate for it, it's just the Olympic organizers that advocate for it.
Yeah.
You,
Well,
you
but this
always
is
run
also
in
golf, though.
You
Golf
always
is
run
stroke
into
play,
this.
really.
Well, but
Like single stroke play.
it's stroke play and it's individualistic, right? And so
And
you've
that's why
got
if you're
a
gonna
lot
have
of
one golf event at the Olympics, you're gonna want it to be what people know of golf.
Yeah,
which is
but I
stroke
guess that's
play.
my point. Is that golf is more than stroke play.
Yeah, match play is kind of
Yeah.
oof.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun.
Like we've gotten ground in on stroke play because that's what the majors are.
Yep.
But there is more than just that way to play golf and enjoy watching golf.
Yeah, but like
I mean, there's a reason why we love the Ryder Cup, and it's not because we're seeing best on best.
Oh, it's also partly because Europe just makes it an atmosphere.
Yes,
And it's when it's in Europe.
It's because we're seeing team versus team, and we're seeing that camaraderie.
But it's
and-
also once a year. We
Yeah.
get that event.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
and
the Olympics is every 4 years. Yeah.
But also, like, I'll just PJ Tour, almost every event, not all, almost every event, though, is stroke play. So that's where
Right.
it's the same. Like, and that's where I think maybe if you're just going to show this to the world, you just,
Do it. Well,
Yeah.
Can you do both? Because there's some sports that you.
But you're not showing it. The world already knows what golf is. Like, you're not introducing a sport to anyone. Like,
fundamentals. Canada once, but when they brought golf back, Canada was the defending champs.
that's right.
The one in like 1912.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were defending champs.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Like,
know
I
that.
kind of was sad that it was back. It's like, we're still holding on. We've had this title for a very long time. We won it, and then they never want to golf in it again.
But, we were talking offline before the show started. What's going on in golf right now? Nelly Korda has won
What a story.
5
Scorching hot.
tournaments in a row.
5 in a row.
A 15-year-old kid, at one time yesterday, I don't know where he finished, was in the top 5 on the Corn Ferry Tour.
Yeah.
And Scotty Scheffler is,
Just eating the field up.
eating the field up right now. I mean,
Still not a bogey-free round? I think, is that still going?
well, unless he hasn't made a bogey in a long, long time, unless he made one today coming in. He had a 5-stroke lead to finish off those last few holes today. He could have made a bogey and wouldn't have mattered.
But no, he's made bogeys. But yeah, he's gone 54. Well, I guess he had 54 consecutive holes without a bogey. That's what it was.
How many holes have you gone without making a bogey?
What do you call a bogey for him?
No, bogey is straight up bogey. Like, I think the longest I could have done is maybe 4 or 5 holes.
Without a bogey?
Yeah. I think I've had runs where a lot of pars and a couple of
I think I've had a round without a
doubles.
snowman.
Are we
I
talking?
think that was considered a
Are we
really
talking?
good day.
Are we talking just bogey, or are we just saying all bogeys? Because there's been a few times I haven't had the bogeys, but I've been having doubles and triples with the pars and the birdies.
Oh, boy, yeah. Birdie, par, birdie, triple.
Yeah.
Not
Par,
fun.
par, triple,
Yeah.
par,
Ouch.
double.
To me, any
When
round,
I'm taking the bogeys, I
any
take them
round
really.
where all the strokes have a name for them, I'm happy with.
Oh, wow.
Well, we also you think Oilers win tonight because you have them winning in 4.
Yeah.
You had them in 5, so they win
I think
tonight.
they win tonight.
When
yeah.
do they lose?
I think Murray's probably right. They probably, if they do lose, it's going to be one in Los
Game
Angeles.
3.
Yeah.
Oil Stream, GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show, 6:30 tonight with Tom Gazzola live at Hudson's West Edmonton Mall on Bourbon Street. It's game 1. The playoffs are here. It's going to be a long couple of months here in the city, but a fun couple
I
of
hope
months
so.
here in the city. It's everyone's weather's nice. You
Yeah.
go golfing on the off days.
Yeah.
Go golfing before the games.
I know.
Hey, look,
It
6:30
kills the
today.
tee sheets. The winners' games kill our tee sheets.
You go, you get that afternoon tea time, head straight to the Hudson's afterwards. It's perfect. It's on the way.
Considering how cheap data is on your phones now, I don't know why guys don't golf and just
Well,
watch the game.
Fair. We'll see how much it impacts us this year. Like tee sheets packed tonight because we have men's night tonight. So, I mean,
Just hand out iPads with every cart and show them like the Gem app or
hey,
whatever.
our new
app they
carts,
need.
they have speakers tuned
you
in,
go.
so you just
Yeah.
Bluetooth it into
Listen
our
to
speakers
Jack
on
and
the
Bob.
cart,
That-
and you get the
that's
game
honestly-
going.
Listen to Jack and Bob.
To me, that sounds like actually a pretty perfect evening.
Yeah,
Little
golf with
playoff
Jack
hockey
and
in
Bob.
18.
I like
People get upset when there's sometimes if you have the music too loud. I don't think anyone on the golf course is going to be upset if you
No.
have the Oilers game a little too loud.
yeah.
You know, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, what's going on?
it. Yeah, you hear people yelling all over the golf course. Yeah, like
VIP Golf Show back on Sunday, finally, right here on Edmonton Sports Talk with Murray Curtis Stock. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop, your next chance to qualify for the EST FlyAway. And then at noon, myself, Tom Gazzola. We are back with the Oil Stream. Tommy down at practice today or at the rink today. We'll update everything that's going on with the Oilers and the Kings. Will, Murray, thanks for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
All
As
good.
always. And thank you for tuning in to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw. We'll be back tomorrow recapping Oilers Kings game 1. But like I said, up next, it is the Lock Shop, which will be starting in just a few minutes right here on Edmonton Sport Talk.
Let's go. There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Zola with here, joining us today.